Why is it so hard to leave a person that is emotionally and psychologically abusive? Why do people stay begging for crumbs of love from a person that seems to enjoy depriving you of healthy love and affection? Does the following description resonate with you? Before this relationship, I used to be a really confident and happy person. I loved my job. I had a lot of great friends. I had so many passions and hobbies that I enjoyed, and I was happy for the majority of the time. Now, everything has changed. It's almost like I can barely recognize myself in the mirror. I can't concentrate on normal things like work. My mind is constantly ruminating, trying to make sense out of chaos. And sometimes I literally feel as if I'm going crazy. I know the relationship I'm in is destructive and toxic. I know that I'm being abused, but somehow I can't seem to leave. This person once loved me in a way that I've never been loved before, and now they treat me like something they stepped on in their walks of life. I don't understand how they could change this way and treat me this way. My love hasn't changed for them. When times have gotten really awful, I really have tried to leave. But each time I come back, the moment they begin being nice to me again, the moment he or she flashes an image of the person they used to be, I fall for it over and over again. If that resonates with you, you're definitely going to want to listen to this podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about the 7 stages of trauma bonding, and I'm hoping to describe it in a way where you can understand what it feels like to go from one stage to the next, and you can understand how confusing it is. Not only do I want to provide information about trauma bonding, but I also want to provide a resource that can really help. So make sure you watch to the end so that you can get that resource. Stage 1 is the famous love bombing. This is when you receive the kind of love and acceptance and validation that you've always wanted and craved. In fact, the love and validation given to you is so on point. This person makes you feel exactly the way you've been longing to feel. They make you feel enough. It's almost uncanny to find someone that has everything you ever wished for. In my face-to-face coaching, I'll get a lot of clients that tell me, Michele, I always dreamed of having someone say this to me, and this particular person did, or I always felt this way about my body or about who I am as a person, and maybe it's a negative way that they felt about themselves. But this person made me feel as if I was so much more than that. They made me forget about all of those insecurities. That's what love bombing does. It gives you everything to such an extent that you actually begin to think that this person is the one. This is your other half. This is the significant other that you've been waiting for, dreaming about, and now has materialized right before you. What you don't understand is the love bombing is so strategically implemented by the malignant narcissist that you actually think you found the one person in the whole world who gives you exactly what you've always longed for. What you don't realize is that the ability to be all you ever wanted is simply the result of the malignant narcissist listening as you tell them and then mirroring what you're longing for. I recently did a video about why people fall for the love bombing. I'm going to leave the link above because it's important to understand why this stage is, why we fall in this stage. Stage 2, trust and dependency. Now that you've found the one, your soulmate, the person who makes you feel enough, lovable, stage 2 is when you begin to trust it. And you begin to build a dependency on the love and validation that the other person has been giving to you. It becomes slowly your only source of love and validation. Many people that fall for the love bombing have not learned how to generate self-love and validation from within. And so when they find someone that does the work for them, so to speak, and provides the love and validation for them, and they begin to trust it, they actually relinquish self-validation and self-love and become dependent on the external from the malignant narcissist because it feels so good to get that validation. While they're trusting it though, in this stage, stage 2, a lot of people think stage 1 is the love bombing and stage 2 is the DValue, but there's actually a stage in the middle. And that's when the love bombing, the compliments, the love and validation that's been given to you by the toxic person shifts just a little bit. They begin to compliment you, to give love and validation only when you are doing things for them. So when you're doing things for you, when you're passionate about something that has nothing to do with them, maybe they don't devalue you yet, but they are indifferent, just slightly indifferent. They don't give any emotional response. But when you do for them, they overflood you with love and validation. So because they're still giving love and validation, you don't notice this slight shift. But on a subconscious level, because you are dependent on them for love and validation, you begin to do more and more for them and less for you because you're craving that love and validation, but you don't notice it yet. It's something that happens slowly and subtly and often flies under the radar. What the malignant narcissist is training you to do is to put all of your focus and all of your energy on trying to please them. And that's when the next stage of trauma bonding takes place. Number 3 is DValue. At this stage, the ratio of positive to negative events shifts even more. But sometimes it can be subtle to the point that you can't really pinpoint when exactly it began. All you know is that the love and validation that they were giving you, not only has it diminished, but now there's an aspect of their personality that you hadn't seen before. Now they're criticizing, devaluing, blame shifting, more and more. What's interesting in this stage also is that they become more demanding in what they want from you, while they themselves are giving less and less, and you are giving more and more. They take one step back and you take one step forward. Stage 4 is gaslighting. As you're entering this stage, there's a piece of you that begins to sense something is not right. And when you bring this concern to your significant other, they use gaslighting to further confuse you as to why there's been a change in the relationship. Their goal with gaslighting is to have you take the blame. You confront them and you let them know that there's something wrong with the relationship, that it doesn't feel the way it used to, and they tell you that it's your fault that things have changed. You aren't giving your all. You're holding back. You don't trust them. You're not putting them first. You put others before them. You spend too much time with your family. They don't believe that you really love them. Or, if only you would do exactly as they want, as they say, things would have stayed the way they were. They try to convince you that you are the one that has changed, when all along it has been them. What they're doing is they're causing you to doubt your perceptions and accept their reality as your reality. It's often at this stage where the target of narcissistic abuse enters what we famously call the hamster wheel, where you're running and running and you're trying harder and harder, you're yanking your personality inside and out to please them, and yet nothing works and nothing ever goes back to how it used to be. Stage 5 is control. You feel confused, but since the gaslighting is causing you to doubt yourself, and the thought that this significant other has bad intentions is a really hard pill to swallow, right? We tend to think and expect that our loved ones or people that say that they love us would have our best intentions at heart. Because you're doubting yourself, you actually begin to believe the other person. If you're wondering if you were believing the other person's false reality, ask yourself, were you trying harder and harder and harder to please, even though nothing ever seemed to be enough? Even though you were the only one trying and the only one giving. You were giving into their demands. You were hiding your passions, your likes, if it made them angry. If talking to your family made them mad, you stopped. If being happy made them angry, you toned yourself down. If having your own perception made them angry, you stopped thinking for yourself. All because at this stage, you actually believe that the only way back to the dynamics that existed in the beginning of the relationship is to do exactly what they say, without any slight deviation. Stage 6 is loss of self. Even though you're now following all of their quote-unquote rules, in fact, suddenly it seems like this is your sole purpose in life, is to follow these rules. For example, you wake up and the only thing on your mind is what you can do or what you should do or what you shouldn't do so that the other person isn't angry, right? This seems to be the only thing that's occupying your mind. And yet, no matter how hard you try, things only continue to deteriorate as opposed to getting better. At the moments you can't take the abuse anymore and you actually stand up for yourself or point out their abuse, they only seem to get worse. It's at this point where if you try to get them to see anything that they're doing is wrong, it gets even worse. And it becomes so painful that the target of narcissistic abuse at this point stops speaking up, stops pointing out the abusive behavior in an effort to not rock the boat. You are now a confused, unhappy, anxiety-ridden, and depressed soul with a broken and shattered self-esteem. Stage 7, addiction. Because of the intermittent hot and cold behavior of the malignant narcissist, you've become addicted to the emotions felt at the moments when the malignant narcissist tosses a crumb of quote-unquote love. The let-up of abuse, no matter how small, feels so good that your brain releases dopamine. And when the abuse starts up again, your brain is desperately seeking its next fix of dopamine in order to feel better. It's at this point that your body has now become addicted to the abuse cycle. And not only do you have the external challenge of having somebody abuse you in a way that is psychologically damaging, but now internally, the chemicals in your body are reacting in ways that keep you stuck. If you reach stage 7 with a malignant narcissist, there are going to be times when you know you have to leave because the relationship is destroying you. The problem is the addiction leaves you with intense withdrawal symptoms, flashbacks, cravings for the toxic person, compulsive thoughts, and rumination about what happened. And on top of that, it leaves you in an anxious state that makes you feel like giving up. It makes leaving feel more painful than staying. If these 7 stages resonate with you, I want you to know that there is help out there. And I want to encourage you to seek help. Seek coaching, whether it's group coaching, one-on-one coaching, or therapy with a psychologist that is familiar with narcissistic abuse. And I want to give you a tip that may sound strange. The tendency for victims of narcissistic abuse is to hop from one video to the next that talks about the narcissist. And it talks about it and you get the validation. Once you get that validation, you hop to another video and you find more validation. Now, I understand that validation is necessary. It is definitely a key component in being able to break out of narcissistic abuse syndrome. But if you only use that as a way of healing, if you only watch videos about the narcissist, you will get the information about them, but it will not heal you. At some point, we have to shift and begin watching videos that talk about complex PTSD, overcoming narcissistic abuse syndrome, healing emotional wounds, emotional trauma, past trauma, childhood wounds. If we don't get that information, we can stay stuck learning about the narcissist forever. The chemicals in our body will become addicted to what happens when we watch videos about the narcissist, because it wakes up the same emotions that took place when we were in the relationship. So it's feeding that dopamine cycle, that need for dopamine. It's feeding the abuse cycle, believe it or not. So make sure that you're watching videos on how to heal. And if you want personal assistance, I'm going to leave information for my 12-week breakthrough CPTSD workshop in the description below, because it talks about all of the information needed to truly heal and move past narcissistic abuse.